Hello, this is Ryan Black, and I'm going to walk through the fourth assignment, which is in week 3 here, and I'll return to the semester. This is the second assignment of week 3. So there was assignment week 1, assignment week 2, and then there were 2 assignments on week 3. This is the second one here that's highlighted, if you want to grab a screenshot of that. It's creating examples of different effects, which will show your ability to understand those effects and also how to mix those effects in a way that is usable compared to the original. Here's the grading rubric for this assignment. Great. We're going to get into Pro Tools and get right to it. This one will go a little bit faster. Create a new session here, and of course we'll name it according to the naming conventions of the class. It's kind of a funny name, but that's what it's named. Make sure you're saving and checking all of your things as far as your session being set up correctly. Next thing we're going to do is import the files. You downloaded these, and they can be found in probably your downloads folder. For me, they're in the class folder here. And I will grab all 4 in this case. I will only be doing one of these or 2. But you can see each one of these is a sample. They're from a recent session that I received. Haven't really done anything with yet. We want to hit copy to bring those in, and we'll put them each on their own track. Now, there are a couple ways to a couple ways that you could arrange this. So whatever works best in your head is okay, as long as the output is clear for the next user. So if we take a look at the assignment again, we'll have a drum sample, and then we'll create the following effects versions. One that clearly shows reverb, one that clearly shows heavy compression, one that clearly shows a gating effect. Now, you can do that and arrange it many, many different ways. One way would be setting up the bass sample with, the drum sample here, and multiple multiple effects loops. But the issue is, with examples like compression and gating, that effects loop is called a parallel effect, and so you still hear the original, so it's hard to distinguish which one has it. Whereas on reverb, which is a temporal effect, adding an effects loop with an aux track makes a lot of sense. So we're going to set it up in that fashion. So for this drum sample, I have one that's a temporal effect, meaning reverb, time-based, and I'm going to add a send on bus 1 and an auxiliary track, mono to stereo. So I'll start off with a mono track, and I'll put in a Reverb plugin here, mono to stereo. And now, if I solo my drum part, I should just hear my drums. Cool. Meanwhile, I'll add a master here in stereo. I have that. Great. And if I bring up the reverb, I will not hear it right now because the aux track is not soloed. I can do that I can undo that by soloing it, or I can put it in a solo safe mode by holding down Command and clicking. So now, if we set up our input correctly, we'll hear our huge reverb. Now be careful, I am overloading my master right now, which is why I usually will start a session by selecting all my tracks and bringing them down about 10 decibels or so, except the aux ones and the master tracks, all your audio tracks. So now we should be able to hear our reverb and also not overload our master, which is great. If we want to make this reverb a little more obvious, we can do that. really sizzly reverb here in Pro Tools, so I'm going to roll off a little bit of that high end. And look at both of them at the same time by holding down the Shift key and clicking on plugins. We'll give you that. Go in here. Just trying to find one that's nice and clear. And you can hear that pre-delay really making itself known. It's crazy a little bit. Go a little shorter than that. That's just so much, it's almost painful. But the difference between that and the bypass version should be pretty obvious. Great, one down. So now we have to think about how do we export this so that it's nice and clear. I'm going to work with each of my samples separately, so they'll be arranged in this fashion. So as I go through them, and I don't know if I asked for a specific reverb. Nope. Okay. So now I've got my drum sample. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to make sure I select beyond the sample here, because my reverb will probably go beyond the sample. You know, that keeps going past it there. So we select that and we bounce. Not that. Wrong keyboard. Shortcut for the wrong program. That one? No, it's this one. There it is. Option Command and B. I'm going to do an interleave stereo file. You can do the MP3 if you want. I don't really, on this assignment, don't need that. If we want to do 16-bit, we should add a plugin. And then the key is here, how do you label this? Do not label it the name of your session, because you're going to end up with a bunch of files. So, because the first one's called drum sample, we can maybe rename that drum sample dry or something along those lines. Actually, let's do that. So I don't need to solo anymore because there's nothing else there. So what I'm going to do is make a original drum sample here, and I'm going to bypass this plugin. So it's just my drum sample playing out at slightly lower level because that fader for the drums is down. So I have that locator, and now I can select that, and I will create a new dry drum sample. Option Command B, interleave file, and we'll call this drum sample dry. And it'll go into our bounced files for this project. Good. And this should just take a second. Boom. Drum sample dry, bounces it out, creates an MP3 version, and appears in, hold on, wait for it, in the folder. Wherever I save the folder. Creating effects examples. In bounce folders, I have drum sample dry. Cool. Now, I'm going to create drum sample with reverb. All I have to do is go back here and unbypass that plugin, and now I have my reverb example. Cool. So Option Command B, interleave file, it kept that setting, and we'll call this not dry, but reverb. And if you wanted, you could put in the time and stuff here. I don't remember exactly what mine is, but just to be more clear. We bounce it. We'll create an MP3 version. Also, just because, and we're good with that. Now comes the interesting part. You may, I just held down Command to unselect. Okay, we can turn off an emergency alert right now. What I'm going to do is duplicate this drum track. duplicate that track with its active playlist. You could do this in playlists as well, but it doesn't, because we're doing different effects, this doesn't exactly hold up to that. So the first one here will be drum sample. The second one will be drum sample compression. And the third one, you might be able to guess. I just bypassed the reverb send because I don't need that. The third one is going to be drum sample gating. It's pretty straightforward. So we want to make sure that this compression can be heard. So I'm gonna smash it, and I need to make sure I'm just hearing that one, and then I'm gonna bring up my gain so my levels are about the same, because I don't want my levels to be significantly different. And you can hear that I'm overloading a little bit here. Don't want that. Trying to find that place where with that super fast attack, there's just nothing getting through this. And it's sad. This is overly compressed. Could be cool as a sample, but great. And we bounce it out. It'll be the exact same length, and then this we will name it, and this is key. If you do not name these files, no one will know what is what, and that is a major issue. Compression heavy. And we'll bounce it, and we'll do that. That's fine. It'll bounce it out. And you can probably guess the next one will duplicate the track. I don't really care about the plugin here, but I think it's a little quicker to just go here. And now on this third drum track, drum sample, not compression, but gating. I'll just write it like this, a little easier to read. I'm going to mute my drum compression track. I might even come in and color my drums dark blue, like that. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Why is it not doing it? Oh, I just did the tracks. Like that. Cool. So now they look a little different. And then come into my plugins here on my inserts, and I'm going to add a gate, which is also in the channel strip. So I will use the channel strip gate, which we haven't really looked at in that much depth. It's right here. You click where it says expander gate, and there's a couple interesting functions on this gate. One of them, I think, a very useful one is this depth, which is how much reduction there is after it has gone through its full attack release phase. It's a little more advanced, but it's a really usable function when you're trying to mix things into an acoustic mix. So here's with our gating, and we have to figure out an appropriate threshold so that we start to hear this gate. Which in this case is going to end up being pretty high. So you can hear that start to kick on and off. Might be a little much. Kind of just gives it this very odd feel, especially on this section, right at the end there. One more time, we'll make sure we're nice and good. Cool. And so that gate now sounds pretty obvious, especially at the beginning and the end of the sample. Cool. All right, so then we do the same thing. Come here, Option Command B. We make sure we are labeling things. Gate. And everything else looks good. And we bounce it out. Does the thing. Creates an MP3 version as well. And if we go here, you'll now see that we have our dry drum sample, our drum sample compression, drum sample gate, drum sample reverb. And if you go through the assignment, you'll see there are also examples for guitar, vocals, bass, and as you go through those, you'll learn how to manipulate these plugins, make sure that they sound clean and clear and appropriate. And that's the key, is when someone listens to this example, they should be able to hear that effect clearly. Great. Thanks a lot, and hopefully you'll be able to rock this assignment out